So this is my 2008 Volkswagen Caddy van. She's not just any old van, she's a day van which I've bought, well, primarily to get out and about and see the world a little bit. I'd like to go and do more 10Ks and more Monroes. At least this way I can be self-sufficient, I can get out and about myself. Now, I bought her a couple of weeks ago, and since I picked her up, I've discovered there's a couple of problems. The morning after I bought her, went to jump in to drive down to work and cranked and cranked and cranked and got nothing. Now, I've had the glow plugs changed. I did message the previous owner on Facebook and asked, have you ever had any issues starting her up in the morning? They said, oh, warm up the glow plugs 3 or 4 times. What they didn't tell me is that this is an ongoing problem. And it looks like it has been for a while. I've looked back through what service history they've given me, and at some point someone's had the injector seals replaced to try and get to the bottom of the starting issues. That hasn't worked. Changing the glow plugs hasn't worked. What I have been recommended is to swap out the glow plug module. So I'm waiting on a price for one of them. That's my next protocol. Hopefully that solves the problem, because to be honest, when she's running, she's the 2-litre non-turbo and she seems to run on, well, thin air. Topped her up a week ago. I put in 80 quid's worth of diesel. So far I've done just shy of 250 miles and I haven't actually used half a tank, so that's not bad. Doesn't really suggest to me there's much in the way of engine problems. It's more just getting her started in the morning, so we'll get to the bottom of that. Something else I've had done is the anti-roll bar link on the near side. Now, for the MOT, the off side was done. For some reason, not the near side, even though there was a hell of a clunking noise. So I've had that replaced, but she still doesn't like potholes too much, so I'm going to have to get the shocks done at some point. Fine, not the end of the world. Priced them up, probably looking about £200. I was tempted to go and get a lowering kit and do the springs and shocks at the same time, and maybe drop the van slightly, but I'm kind of liking the stealth look about her. She just blends in like she's a painter's van or a builder's van or something. So if the idea is to go stealth camping and not really stand out, I think keeping the bodywork as is maybe isn't the worst shout in the world. I'll get the rust touched up, it needs a clean. Other than that, maybe swapping the bumpers over since somebody's done a horrible paint job on them. I'm going to try and leave the outside as is. She was running on alloys when I got her, 17-inch. They weren't sitting too well. They look great in the pictures, but they weren't practical and the tyres were close to limits, so I got myself some Steelies and I swapped them over. Job done. Not really a big problem, but the stereo's temperamental. Now, I love my music, I love listening to the radio. When I got the car, the guy pointed out, oh look, there's this nice fancy touchscreen that's got DAB. Can't seem to work it. Again, it's really temperamental. It does its own thing. I can live off CDs for a little while. It's not the end of the world. It's kind of a would be nice to be working kind of thing. Doesn't really need to be done. I'll get right into it because it is irritating me. Other than that, it's realistically just a bit of wear and tear. She needs some grease in the roller for the door. One thing I have discovered, the washer tank leaks. Luckily, I live in Scotland. We get quite a bit of rain, except for the last month or so. So that's not so much of an issue, but it's getting annoying now having to top that up every single day. The guy that did some work for me on the anti-roll bar link, the glow plugs, and swapped out the old CV joint, he did say it's a leaking pipe right at the bottom of the water tank. I'm not sure if it's the tank itself or the pipe. Needs a bit of digging. He did try and seal it up, but it hasn't held, so we'll get that swapped out as well. And other than that, I think she just needs a bit of a service. The van ain't going to win any show and shine awards. I'm not bothered about that. She's not going to set a land speed record neither, but she'll get me about, she'll let me stealth camp, and that's kind of what I'm wanting to do. So I don't want to have to spend a fortune on her. She's a high mileage van. That said, I mean, she's 15 years old. It's not that bad a mileage, so we'll see how we get on. The next plan, like I said, is to get to the bottom of the starting issues and make her a bit more reliable. It's fine just now in summer. I don't mind killing a little bit of time trying to get things going, but I don't want to get to winter and have to drive somewhere and discover the van ain't going to start.
This time, come on. Please, come on.
That's just no use. Doing a bit of digging online, the other thing that keeps coming up as a common fault with these vans, in particular this sort of era of Caddy, is the lift pump. Now, there might be something in this. I parked at a friend's house the other night and I parked on quite an incline of a hill, and even though I'd driven up there and I'd only stayed for a couple of hours, she took an eternity to start. I must have cranked her over 4 or 5 different attempts, it's never struggled that much. So when she was pointing uphill, it's almost like it was a struggle to get any diesel from the tank into the engine. So I'm kind of wondering if this lift pump is the bottom of the issue, but we'll have a look and we'll find out. Then once I've got her running fine and I've had her serviced, I think the plan is to look at the back and kind of make that work for my needs as well. So wish me luck. Did I mention as well, the van seems to have a mind of its own. You indicate right, but it wants to go left. I'm not sure what that's all about. It doesn't matter.